How you doing? I'm Paul Deanno, and we do the grilling forecast all summer long, but we have some special guests for a special grilling forecast. The Deen Brothers. Have you seen them on TV? Have you read their cookbook? Have you eaten at their restaurant? Well, you can do all of that and more, and you can meet them this weekend at the Bite of Seattle, right here in Seattle. And guys, we have steaks in front of us, which we have to talk about, but you're here for a purpose. I'm sure you're here because you love Seattle, but you're also here because we have an event going on.
Yep.
What is it?
Yep. Well, we do love Seattle. Bobby and I did a show here a few years ago, and it's just such a great city to visit. But we're here this weekend to help promote a contest with Beringer Wines, where we're asking all backyard grillers to come in and formulate their own recipes for a chance to win a great contest, $15,000 in a trip to Napa Valley. So Bobby and I have taken some taste of the region and we put it into our rub. Bobby, why don't you tell Paul what we're going to do?
All right, we're going to make a steak with a Seattle flair. Kind of have an idea as to what that might be, but please tell me what our individual things are. Let's make it up.
Well, we're asking people to get creative, you know, in things that are indigenous to their area. And Seattle is all about coffee.
As your brother eats the steak,
you know,
not the raw one.
You notice how he pushed it off to me, and then he starts eating. So we're going to use an instant espresso powder. Beg your pardon, that's easy for me to say.
It's early.
Light brown sugar, a little chipotle, the espresso powder, cocoa powder, and a little oil to make it all stick together, and a little bit of sea salt in the end.
As you're mixing all that together, my question to you is, you know, as more of, I guess, a simplistic griller who does a lot of salt and pepper and just oil, when you introduce flavors like this to a grill, I mean, some people might say, well, I want to add coffee to a steak. What does it really do to the taste without the coffee and with the coffee? What's the difference in the finished product people can expect?
Well, you know, if you have a good piece of meat, all you really need is a little bit of salt and pepper.
Okay.
It is. And what I think that you would have to be careful with here is this might cause the steak to burn.
Okay.
You know? So I would be really
So could my cooking skills.
I would be really careful with that. But it's going to come through. I mean, we tasted it a few minutes ago, and it's not something that you would expect with a steak, but it goes really well with it. The notes are there of the cocoa powder, or I beg your pardon, of the espresso, and it's not overpowering.
Now, this is the World Wide Web, and people maybe not in Seattle might be watching this. What are some of the crazier recipe styles or ideas that you've gotten in other cities around the country that are kind of, you know, something we wouldn't think of off the top?
I hadn't met the crazies yet.
Okay.
everything's been pretty mundane and simple so far. I think a lot of people that know how to grill get creative with their sides as opposed to what they put on the steak. This is really creative to me as far as rubbing down a steak.
And when it comes to visiting and touring around the country, you guys go all around the country. What is unique and what is the best thing that you like about Seattle and Western Washington when you come? Because we were talking before this interview that you've been here before and loved it. I mean, what's not to love, but what's your favorite part?
It has kind of a smaller town feel to be such a big city. When we were down in the market area, just all the fresh local people and really super friendly. They were throwing fish. You know, we went down to the fish
We do
market.
that.
Yep. And it's the first time that we'd had pozole, Bobby?
Paella with Dan Buggy. Yep.
And so halibut cheeks and things that we're not familiar with. We get a lot of good seafood on the East Coast, you know, with us being in Savannah. But up here in this area, we were exposed to so much great fresh seafood. And the museums, and it's just a great place. The weather now is perfect.
Yes.
10 grill day. I don't care what you say. It's 100.
We rate the day on 1 to 10, so you giving it a 10?
10.
Jamie, give it a 10?
11 grill day today.
I can't fit 11 on my map, so we'll stick with 10.
So and like you were saying, you could keep the seasoning to a minimal. If I recommend if you have a piece of meat with a bone in.
Okay. Okay.
So much flavor comes out of that bone that you can just do a little bit of oil and a little bit of salt and pepper.
Okay.
But if you're doing a more affordable cut of meat, that's when you want to add a little bit more of the flavor probably. And be careful to cut it on an angle to take some of the fiber out of it so it's not so chewy. And be sure and let it rest for about 5 minutes once you take it off the board so the juice can work its way back through. We're a little kind of heavy medium on this end, but over here it's kind of a nice medium rare. If you want to give
great.
If you want to give it a test drive.
Half? How about a full?
Yeah, do it. Your show. Good. The brown sugar is a little sweet and it's got a little bit of heat.
It kind of reveals itself as you chew it, all the different
But it doesn't
layers.
overpower.
Good.
You know it's a piece of meat. You know, it doesn't taste like
Still
a piece
steak.
of candy. Yep.
Absolutely. When it comes to, Bobby, when it comes to people messing up grilling, there's a lot of people out there who think they're experts. You guys are the experts. What do people do?
He's not an expert.
Okay. Thank you for talking. When it comes, what do people do wrong when they grill? Because people might be watching this because we're talking about the grilling forecast. What do people do incorrectly more often than not?
But
maybe I should be talking to you about this.
This is Bobby's wheelhouse. And I'll eat steak.
People flip the steak constantly, and you can't do that. That's the #1 rule of thumb is you want to flip your steak only one time.
So cook the first half, flip it, done.
Exactly. And then right.
But guys like to look important, and you got to turn it. And you got to impress the spouse and impress your friends.
Well,
that doesn't work?
They're messing it up. 2 things that you want to make sure that you do is take the steak out of the fridge about 30 minutes before you put it on the grill.
Okay.
And let it come to a nice room temperature because you can imagine a cold centered steak is is just not going to cook properly.
Okay.
And then again, flip it that one time. Depending on the thickness of your cut of steak,
he's really eating it all.
He really is. It's really good.
Cleaning up my mess.
Maybe 4 to 6 minutes, per side over a nice hot grill. Flip it one time, bring it off the grill and inside, and let it rest for about 6 or 8 minutes, and let those juices just reincorporate into the steak, and it's going to be perfect. If you maintain those 3 things, it'll be great.
And flip it once.
Flip it one time.
All right. The Deen Brothers in town. They're full. They just ate half a steak.
We're here.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Bob.
Bobby and Jamie are in town, and you're here when? Tomorrow at Bite of Seattle Fisher Pavilion? What? Oh.
11:30.
11:30 on Saturday morning. And we want to thank our sponsor right over here, Tim's Chips. They're the ones who make it possible. Beringer for the actual event. Tim's Chips, our sponsor here at KOMO 4. They make the grilling forecast happen, and we're very appreciative of that. Hey, these are my favorite, the sweet Maui onions.
Oh, my God.
Good. Pretty good. All right. Enjoy your day. Happy grilling.
Those are out of sight. Thanks, brother.